Da, 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 da.
Franklin Square. There are a lot of tourists who come here to Philadelphia, and a lot of them come to the Liberty Bell and Independence Hall, but I want to show you a few other spots near the Liberty Bell that if you're coming to my great city, you can check out. Part of Philadelphia is considered Old City. When the founder of Pennsylvania, William Penn, was designing the layout for the city of Philadelphia, he wanted there to be 5 parks just in case there was a big fire. People had space to go to be safe. Section of Franklin Square, they have a putt-putt course where you can play Independence Hall and the Liberty Bell. Filming this the week of Halloween, so I don't want you to think the decor is always like this, like some type of Tim Burton nightmare thing. It's Halloween. We're getting ready to get ready for Halloween. I'll tell you, look at this. We're not getting ready for Halloween. They're getting ready for Christmas. Uh-oh. It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas. The city of Philadelphia owns this park, and at Christmas time, they have an event called the Electrical Spectacle, and like every hour on the hour, they have this fantastic Christmas light show. And if you look carefully at the carousel, there are 2 Philadelphia legends you can ride on. Smarty Jones, former Kentucky Derby winner. Philadelphia's other Kentucky Derby winner, Fleet Alex. You can even rent out that space there and have a catered event like a wedding or a bar mitzvah or anything like that. But if you do have a party there, I want you to know something. This is a mass burial. No, it's actually not a mass burial ground. There used to be a cemetery in that section of the park. And when the city claimed this park, they didn't move everybody under the ground. So there are dead bodies underneath the ground where you're having a wedding party. There are mass burial grounds all over this section of Philadelphia. So if you leave Franklin Square and get to this corner, 6th and Ray Street, you'll see a few things. One, right here is a museum called the Constitution Center. And if you look to our right, you will see WHYY Studios. WHYY is our local PBS station. Television history happened. Let me go back so you can get a good look at this, because you're going to want to see this building after I tell you what happened in here. Back in the late 80s, Mark Summers, Harvey Holiday, they had a TV show called Double Dare, and they filmed Double Dare, the first, I think, 68 episodes in that building. Look at that. Terry Gross is a pretty popular NPR broadcaster. She does her show from here. Matter of fact, I think she might be doing it right now. You see Terry Gross? No, I don't see Terry Gross. And if you keep walking south on 6th Street, to your right, you will see the Federal Reserve. They have an exhibit that talks about how the Federal Reserve works and how money works, and I still don't understand how the Federal Reserve works, but you can go in there and get confused yourself. But if you, here's a perk if you go in there. they will give you a bag of shredded money. I think it's like $100, or no, $1,000 in shredded money. Because what they do is, you know, if you go to the bank and the dollar bills are all beat up, they send them here to the Federal Reserve, and that's where they destroy the money. This is the National Constitution Center. It's a museum that talks about how the Constitution, I don't know, it's not that good of a museum. You go there, I think it's like $25. They have some cool items from American history, some tragic items. They have like a beam from the World Trade Centers. They have I don't know. It's not that good of a museum. Let me just. We are 2 blocks away from Independence Hall. We're going to go right here. We're going to cross the street. You are looking at the Fighting Quaker Church. Now, Quakers are pretty much pacifists, right? They're pacifists. They don't want to get involved in wars. They want to just practice their religion and not be bothered. Now, here's the thing. To practice religion freely, you have to have religious freedom. So if you were living in England back in the time when William Penn was around, or when the time Betsy Ross was around, who went to this meeting house, if you lost a Revolutionary War, you weren't going to be able to be a Quaker. So there's a conundrum. Is that a word? And so that's the problem. What do? You want to practice your religion. Your religion says you're a pacifist. But, so what these people did is they had their own branch of Quakerism. That sounds like a good word, right? Directly across the street from the Fighting Quakers meeting house is the grave of the most famous Philadelphian of all time, the grave of Ben Franklin. Ben Franklin and his wife Deborah, who I don't even think they were really technically married, but that's okay. Ben Franklin had a saying, "A penny saved is a penny earned." So what do Philadelphians do, or tourists do, to show respect to Ben Franklin? We don't save our pennies, we throw them on his grave. Fun fact about the Christ Church burial ground: there is a wall all the way around this cemetery, except when you get to Ben Franklin's grave. And the story is, the city of Boston said they were going to dig up Ben Franklin's grave and take his body to a cemetery or graveyard in Boston because Philadelphia was not displaying his grave properly. So a guy named Mathis Baldwin, who started Baldwin Locomotives, he paid to have this fence put in so people could see Ben Franklin's grave, keeping his body in Philadelphia. And across the street from Ben Franklin's grave, you will find the United States Mint. This was built, I think in the 50s or 60s. This is the 4th United States Mint that was built in Philadelphia. All the Medal of Honors, any of those prestigious medals that the president or the government gives out to brave soldiers with Purple Hearts and all that, all those medals are made in this mint. It's also the largest coin-making factory in the entire world. It's an ugly building, though. You are allowed to take tours of the mint, and if you're a Philadelphia Phillies fan, it's pretty cool to take the tour, because former Phillies broadcaster Harry Callis, who passed away in 2008, he's the narrator to the mint tour. And we're back over at Ben Franklin's grave, and we're going to head east down Arch Street. Did I mention inside this graveyard or cemetery? Mass burial ground. Mass burial ground. Coming up across the street is the Arch Street Meeting House. It is the 2nd largest Quaker meeting house or church in the world. The largest Quaker Meeting House is in South Africa. You go in here, look at this. So this is the meeting house, and if you look, there's no stained glass windows. You wouldn't even you wouldn't know this is a religious building if it didn't have a sign saying it's a religious building. And just like every other park we have been to so far, you are standing on a burial ground. If you go inside that meeting house, you can go in there. They have tours. There's also a Quaker museum on that side of the building. They have seat cushions that are stuffed with horsehair. And they're from like the 1800s. This is a peace pole. Quakers, you look at their church, no stained glass windows. They don't really, decorate much. But this is the most decorating. This is how they decorate. They have a pole that stands in front of the church. It's called the peace pole. And it just says, "May peace prevail on earth." In the Arch Street Meeting House location, there is a headstone here for Samuel Nichols. Samuel Nichols was expelled from this Quaker worship community for founding the Continental Marines, which later became the U.S. Marine Corps. He died of yellow fever in 1790, and it was buried somewhere in front of the meeting house. We're just not sure where. So they have this headstone to pay homage, to show respect to Samuel Nichols. Betsy Ross was a member of this Quaker meeting house, but was expelled for marrying a non-Quaker John Ross. That would get you, it's kind of cultish. If you marry outside the religion, they expel you. I don't know if it's still that way. So I guess the only people who would know would be Quakers. And I just called them a cult, so they're not going to answer. But if you know, could Quakers marry outside the religion today in 2022? If not, it's a cult, right? It's a cult. And if you leave the Quaker meeting church, you go out to Arch Street, you go down here, across the street. This is technically jaywalking, so don't do this. This is Loxley Court. Not really a tourist location, but if you go in here, it is a little community of houses that were built in the 1790s. And the reason it's called Loxley Court is because the man who lived, I think it's at 1 Loxley or 2 Loxley, his name, I think his name was John Loxley. And I think it was this one here. He was the, I don't know, like not the janitor, the groundskeeper or the carpenter at Independence Hall. He maintained Independence Hall. So Ben Franklin borrowed the key, the whole kite and key experiment. He got the key from John Loxley, who lived in this little community here. And we're going east down Arch Street. We're leaving the Quaker meeting house where Betsy Ross was expelled from. And we're going to go to Betsy Ross's house. There's no real documentation proving Betsy Ross made that American flag. If nobody kept receipts or paperwork of anyone making the flag, because if you're having a war against another country, you're revolting against a country, and you get caught making the flag for your new country, that's treason. That's big time treason. The flag, the guy buried at Christ Church burial ground, Francis Hopkinson, He is the person who designed the American flag. He designed the colors and all that stuff, I think. Yeah, you're not writing a book report, are you? But right here, this is the grave of Betsy Ross. Yeah, Betsy lived in there. Oh, there's Betsy herself. How you doing, hon? Good to see you. I got to give you a warning. If you ever come to this section of Philadelphia, there's a lot of people dressed like that, and they talk old-timey. You know, like colonial days. There's nothing more in the world I hate than colonial people who talk that way, and then you try to talk to them like normal time. Like, oh, what time is it? And they'll go, oh, Douth don't have a sundial. And I'm like, oh, shut the fuck up. So, yeah, just be, yeah, beware. Beware of the reenactors. If Betsy Ross did make the American flag, she probably made the American flag in that room where her bedroom was. Down here was her upholstery shop. And like I said, she was kind of performing the act of treason. So if you're performing treason, you wouldn't want to do it right here where people could look in the windows and see you. So she probably made the flag in that room up there. Directly across the street from the Betsy Ross house is Humphrey's Flag Company. They usually have a big Betsy Ross flag. They should have a Phillies flag right now, but now they got a giant Flyers flag. And this is 2nd Street. 2nd Street is known as Restaurant Row. You can still get restaurant equipment and furniture on this street. It's just not as everywhere as it used to be. We see across the street on that corner, there is some restaurant equipment advertising. They don't sell restaurant equipment in there, but we keep the sign up to remember our past, and we also want to embrace the future. So we try to keep the old style of architecture, and we add newer style of architecture to it because the city's growing. We can't just keep our buildings 1 or 2 stories high.